So, you've lost someone to cancer. Let's talk.
Light up. Light up. Light up. Yeah.
Today, we have a very special guest. I cannot wait to share with you Aunt Tammy. She's everyone's aunt. She had a nephew named Daniel, and Daniel is a very well-known influencer. Daniel made living with an ostomy look fierce, okay? Daniel was a powerhouse. When I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, I was 27, and Daniel was the only young person I could find online with colon cancer, and Daniel really gave me a really great example of somebody living with colon cancer who was a powerhouse. Like, this human was incredible. And when I say Tammy is just as amazing, I'm telling you. So we unfortunately did lose Daniel to colon cancer, but we gained Tammy into this space, and I met Tammy at Call on Congress. The minute I saw her, I knew who she was, and I ran to her and I was like, "You don't know me, but you've impacted my life." She doesn't know this, but I've adopted her as my aunt, and I think we all have as well. Tammy is now obviously processed her grief, and she's going through a very, very painful experience. But what Tammy chose to do was put her pain in the back end and put her voice in the front. And so Tammy now uses her grief to help other people process their grief and their loss of a loved one. Everybody say hi to Tammy. Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for being here. I don't want this podcast to be about Daniel, even though Daniel was a powerhouse in this world. I really want this episode to be about you and where you've come, because I feel like in these past couple years, you've become like a beacon for so many people who are grieving from this. How are you doing these days?
Well, I'm doing okay, fingers crossed, day by day, day by day. Anyways, that just aged me. But yeah, I'm doing okay. I had my art to fall back on. So that kept me busy the last couple of years. It's going on this will be 3 years since we've lost Daniel. So, and it was not easy. Grief is no joke, So with my work, my artwork kept me ahead, kept me swimming. And then my advocacy work, that was a shocker to me because that was very unexpected. I never thought.
Really?
Yeah, I never years that I would become an advocate. When Daniel passed away, I was reached out to by the president at that time, Fawn Gallagher of the Colon Club. And she said it was probably Daniel's funeral was on December 3rd. She reached out December 6th and said, "Hey, I think this organization, Fight CRC, would be amazing for you to come to Call on Congress in March." And I'm like, "Well, what?" I was just like, "What?" And
wow.
And I thought, you know what? I need to do this especially for early age onset, for you younger people, because Daniel when he passed away, he was 35, but when he was diagnosed, he was only 29, and he was misdiagnosed for 2 years before that. And he was probably had cancer before that. Right. So, yeah. So I was like, this is my jam. I'm going to go check it out. And I've never looked back. And now
I'm so grateful.
I'm there, and everybody, they call me Aunt Tammy. And because, all the cool kids know who the cool aunt is, man, in the room.
You are Aunt Tammy to all of us. And I just want to say how grateful I am that you've become an advocate, because I feel like how thankful I am to have somebody like you being a voice for us, because I feel like we are not always going to be here after it,
Yeah. It can be very aggressive. Daniel's was very aggressive. It kept hiding. He would go through chemo and radiation, and then they'd say, "Hey, you're NED, no evidence of disease." He would celebrate. We would all celebrate. Several months later, he'd have symptoms again, and it was hiding within him. So, and his was really, really bad. His cancer was started growing on the outside of him. So they called that a fungating tumor and stuff. So, and I mean, I was his caregiver. He lived with me and my husband, and I had to change the bags, his bags. I had to do all that. So, yeah, it was difficult. Difficult.
You know what? I just want to say something because I feel like this brings us to a topic that nobody really talks about. And that is that caregivers become nurses overnight. Okay. Like they are triage nurses. Okay. Your caregiver. And I think people overlook the trauma that caregivers go through because they really don't take it as their own trauma, but they go through some shit. Like when I say Tammy has seen some shit, she's seen it, okay? She's been to battle, she's been back. So that's why we call her Aunt Tammy, and that's why she really does take on this role. You know, like how was it caring for Daniel and still process grief for yourself? How was that even?
Difficult, to say the least. I mean, it was the worst thing, but also the most beautiful thing because I was able to be there for him and with him, right? And through all his fears and stuff. And I never lied to him. I didn't pretend. If he was having weird feelings, I was there with him. You know, I'm like, I get it. You know, there were things like I'd start to say something and he'd say, don't say it, don't say it, don't put it out in the universe. I'm like, I got you. I'm not, you know. So you kind of have to read the room, right? If you're an empath, which I am, I'm very empathetic to a fault sometimes, but I knew what he needed. Like I could tell what his needs were from me, you know, what I could do for him emotionally, right? You have to get in that mindset. You have to it can't be about you. Even though I'd walk out of the room and I'd be like, oh, you know.
Yeah,
it's
I bet.
hard. The stuff I had.
Yeah.
Bleh. I don't wish that on anybody.
But still to this day, you're still doing that. But for other grievers and other survivors, you know, and that is, you know, there's something so selfless about it. Caregivers are other type of people, okay? Like I tell you, like they are some great human beings, and Tammy is definitely one of them. So how was it being Daniel's aunt? I know that, like, I know you talked about like being there for the last bits of his, you know, the last moments were magical and, you know, great for you to be there. But how was it being, you know, Daniel's aunt?
Well, number one, it was an honor. He was a really cool person. Really cool. Made me laugh. He was just a joy, you know. He was just a joy to be around, and we got each other, you know. And he would school me on things, and I would school him on things, and we just learned from each other. And I loved that he chose me. Plus, I was his caregiver, but at that time, he could still travel a little bit, and he chose me to go on his bucket list trip to New York, you know. And I'll tell you what, that was the funnest dang thing. Oh, we had so much fun. We enjoyed it immensely. And yeah, he was just a joy. It was the best thing being his aunt, you know? I mean, I was in the room when he was born. So I was there with,
Really?
I watched him be born, and I sadly watched him pass away too. But so I came full circle with him. He was my baby too.
Honestly, and you know, as people who are watching online, we really got that. He really took us on as family, and he showed us how much he loved you. That's what's so sad is like it's, you know, people overlook what the caregivers do go through, but it's so hard, you know.
Yeah, it's harder. It's the emotion.
You're still here. Like you still have to go through it.
Yeah. You know, the emotional toll though that it takes, it's heavier than you could imagine, you know. But then I wouldn't change it. You know what I mean? Like it was my why. He was my why. You know, it was something I had to do. It was something I had to do. I had no choice, really. No one else could take care of him like me. So
I mean, that's true. You say you have no choice, and that's I mean, that you don't, like you have to do it. You got to, as a caregiver and a survivor, there is no choice in the matter. You have to do it. So I have a quick question, and this is like a standard question I have for Tammy, okay? A little lighthearted one. Do you know what a colonoscopy is?
Me?
Yeah.
Having a colonoscopy? Yeah, I do.
Tell me.
Have them all the I have them all the time. I go and have a colonoscopy to check to see if I have colon cancer. It's just part of who I am now. And I have to go every 3 years because they found precancerous polyps last time.
No way. I'm glad you go.
But here's the thing. It's easy for me to go because of my age. But if you're under 45, you have to fight like a banshee to try to get one. And I think that needs to be changed. And that's another reason why I go to Colon Congress and go to AD.
Tammy is single-handedly working on that, okay? When she says she wants to change the age limit on colonoscopy, she's literally talking to your representatives about it. So she is fully going door to door. Hello, can you fix this problem I have with the age of colonoscopies? Like, Tammy's going to do it, okay, guys? Like, we all may not survive, but this woman is going to be here. She's going to be shouting it from the rooftops, and I appreciate it. Do you remember an exact moment that you became an advocate, or was it just like you woke up overnight?
No, I woke up overnight and I was bing. No, when I had to advocate for Daniel. When he was in Las Vegas, he was in a car accident in Wyoming, and they found a mass in his stomach. So he flew back to Las Vegas where he lived, went to his oncologist and the doctors, and they did a couple of surgeries in there that why I don't know, but they told him there was nothing more they could do for him. So I went out there, drove out there to the hospital and battled. I said, I don't agree with that. If you can't do something, then you're going to help find someone who can. And nobody knows, and I didn't know this at the time, but that's a law. Like at a hospital, if they say there's nothing more we can do, well, then you say, well, then you need to help me find someone who can. Because they didn't have the skill set for the surgery that Daniel needed. They couldn't do anything more for him. So we had to call hospitals. I was on the phone. They were on the phone calling all the hospitals around the area by us in California. And then they have to start branching out to other states. But they finally found, everybody kept denying him because it was such a complicated surgery that he needed to save his life. Whoa. Finally, a woman at UCLA, Dr. Mary Kwan, she said, you know what, if there's no more than anybody can do for him, then why not try? So she put together a team of surgeons at UCLA, and he was flown from Las Vegas to UCLA, and then he underwent that 14-hour surgery to remove his bladder and stuff. So not only did he have a colonoscopy bag, but he also then had a urostomy bag.
And I'll put the definition of a urostomy here. Tammy is an advocate that prevented doctors from stopping you from seeking additional care. No, so there is a law. I'm going to put it here. I'll do some research on it. And Tammy, thank you for telling me. Yeah. This is what I mean by this woman she's an advocate. This is incredible. And, it's like stories like this where she's obviously telling a traumatic story about, your nephew, going through surgery and being in a car accident and finding out he has cancer. And here you are telling the story to make other people survive and to allow other people, giving them the power to advocate for themselves or giving other advocates the ability to know that. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. People don't know what they don't know, right? So that was something I did not know, but I learned real quick. That's not a safe discharge. And they looked at me like, oh, shoot, she's on to us. So they couldn't release him until we said, this is where we want him to go. Well, he said, I'm not going to any of them. I'll go home first. So we got him set up to where we drove up here to the Bay Area from Los Angeles, and he came and lived with us. But people don't know that.
And they will have to put it in your chart if you claim you are being unsafely discharged. Tammy, thank you.
Ah,
that story is worth $1 million.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, Tammy.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I could sit here for an hour and be like, what else do you know? No, really. And at the end of the day, I think that's, why you do what you do, right?
Yeah.
The battle of cancer is hard, but Tammy, if you could prep anybody for it, in what way could you prep them?
It's going to be the hardest thing you'll ever do, you know? You just have to remember the why. The why. Why are you doing it? Why do you want to do it? And, and because whatever you're doing, you're inspiring. Like me, I'm trying to inspire change, right? I'm trying to bring change. And so if I can encourage caregivers to share their stories and to help inspire change, that's why I highly promote Call on Congress, because I think our voices matter.
You will be the change. You know what I mean? I know it. And add information for Call on Congress. It's in March. This year is already booked up, and already full. But if you want to volunteer to put flags, you can still volunteer to put flags. I'll put some information up here and a link down below if you want to go ahead and learn more information about Call on Congress. Now, Tammy, explain to me what Call on Congress is, okay? I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You go ahead and tell me what it is.
It's for people to advocate about fight colorectal cancer, right? So we're trying to get funding. We're trying to get research. We're the 5th deadliest cancer that does not have its own research department. Why? It's on the rise in younger people. So we go to Congress and we learn to talk to our representatives because they work for us, right? So we go and sit there and tell our stories and try to get them on the same page as we are and get on the caucus and sign, try to make change, try to get a research department. That's my big goal. And to change the age down younger for colonoscopies and stuff. Because if we could get people to get screened, we could probably eradicate this disease. Well, if it caught her.
There it is. Yeah. It's, what is it, 98% avoidable with a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
And if if doctors, we're obviously not doctors, we're advocates. If you would like to correct me, please correct us. But as of right now, I think that's the study. If you could tell other caregivers that are on the fence about turning their pain into power, what would you advise for them?
I say, feel everything, take your time, channel your love for that person, and then you'll start to turn it into something meaningful. There's other people out there that need you, that need your help and your care. Oh.
I'm grateful for that. I know I'm one of those people that do take advantage of your care and your help. So I'm truly grateful for it. At the end of the day, you're screaming for people like me and my friends. I'm truly grateful for you, Tammy. As a survivor, I truly am. Thank you. Thank you for coming on here, and thank you for, advocating for colonoscopies and educating us on colonoscopies, educating us on, how to sign up for Call in Congress. And of course, thank you so much for continuing to advocate, because at the end of the day, that is so magical. I can't even tell you how many lives you are affecting. And I'm sure you know that in your own little way, right?
I do. And thanks for having me on here too, to talk about all this too, and bring awareness. I'm willing to bring awareness wherever I can and whenever I can, because it's so important to me and to others like yourself.
Daniel may not be here with us, and it was the end of Daniel's story, which was heart-wrenching for all of us, but it was the beginning of Aunt Tammy as the advocate. And it was so amazing, and I'm so honored to be alongside you and to call you a friend and to call you Aunt Tammy. And I can't wait to see you in March. And
yeah,
thank you. Is there anything you want to end with? Anything you want to say? Anything If anybody says, "Oh, Aunt Tammy," what do you want people to know about Aunt Tammy?
That I'm always here. I'm an ear. I'm a good listener. You know, reach out. I'm always available.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tammy. Everybody give Tammy a round of applause.
Oh,
It was a pleasure, and we will see you next time. Bye.
all right. Bye.
Sorry, my cat is. Do you see her? So sorry, Tammy.